about to apply for that. Let me just let that go on. And then we'll start after this YouTube thing goes up live. We are about to apply. Okay, that is applied now. So I'll just close it. Okay, I'm going to start now. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Priya Ray. I'm a brown-skinned woman with dark brown hair. I'm wearing a black t-shirt that with a sign, with a graphic of a sign that's in white of a hand holding a sign that says accessible future, because that's what we want for everyone. So the idea of the bedding came to me because I was kind of thinking protesting is really not accessible, especially to disabled people who are home and bed bound, and we want to honor all our disabled brothers and sisters who can't protest, and also honor the disabled people that went to protest and got arrested when they were trying to save Medicaid. So our heart goes out to all of these people. So what we'll do is we'll talk about disability rights in disaster and arts, government, communities, and so on. And in the middle, we're going to do a collaboration, an art collaboration. That's going to be Sharon and Matthew are going to lead that. And if you want to take part in that, we're going to use something called Padlet. So go to padlet.com, and I'm going to ask Jay to actually put that in the chat so you can access it that way, or just go to Padlet, which is spelled Padlet, padlet.com, and you can sign up for that for free. And then we'll end the event with a Q&A and a community discussion. And then I'm going to introduce my partner, Kat. My partner in resistance here is Kat from 10 Minutes a Day, Kat Hats. But before I let her speak, I want to thank our sponsors, which is New Disabled South, Chase Bliss, Sugar Hollow Solar, Midwest Anesthesia and Pain Specialist, or MAPS. And they have sponsored our accessibility fund so we can have ASL interpreters and make these online events as accessible as possible. And before I hand it over to Kat, I do want to have a disclaimer that the views that are shared in this event are not the same as DIY Ables in 10 Minutes a Day. So now I'm going to hand the mic over to Kat.
Thank you, Priya. We've been planning this for many months and we are very excited. And we are so grateful to all of you because it could not have happened without this community coming together. I've been a constituent of Congresswoman Jen Schakowsky for over a decade. She's deeply committed to protecting our rights through grassroots leadership, political advocacy, and coalition building. She's one of the founding mothers of Operation Swing State, which is a grassroots organization. Illinois people, it sends us to Michigan, Wisconsin for elections in order to help our neighbors and make sure that those states help them have the big rituals that they need. She also sits on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which was just passed with how to cut Medicaid, and she was at our Chicago. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Schakowsky. I will turn it over to you. We could not be more grateful.
Well, thank you so much. Is it my turn now? Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you to all the leaders, the people who put this together and made it happen, and the ones that are here with us all over the country. I heard a list of places, and it's fantastic. And that's what we're about, is winning all over the country. So thank you, Kat, who happens to be in the 9th Congressional District of Illinois that I have represented for about 27 years, and about to not run any longer. So if I can pass on a few things about what we have to do, and the big word is fight. Fight, fight, fight. We can't be passive. We can't just be secretive about it. We have to get out and fight. I've been involved in your issues, my issues, for all the years that I've been in the Congress, when we got the Americans um, uh, for ability against disability, or the bill that we got passed many years ago. And now we have to fight even more because we have a president who does not give a hoot about people with disabilities. In fact, if he had his druthers, he would just get rid of all people with disabilities. What a monster. And so what we have to do is be out there on your own behalf and all of the allies who are with you. We had over 24-hour vigil, really, talking about what we wanted to get done, what the Democrats wanted to get done, and the Republicans voted against every single thing. So let's talk about what we need to do. When I talk about we have to fight, it's very specific. And I know you had another big rally before. Congratulations. Thank you for that. Keep it up. We have to talk to the members of Congress and everyday people to understand the importance of everybody's involvement. I understand you can't necessarily go always to Washington, D.C., but you can mobilize people on the phone, in the mail, to be clear that we now demand that you have equality. It's in the law right now, by the way, in the original law on disability, and we are not going to take it anymore. And so among the things that need to be done are calls to members of Congress. Obviously, the best would come from people in the district of one of the people who will get a phone call. And if you don't know anybody in the district, to say, we need our, we need all our benefits. We can't be without Medicaid. We can't be without all kinds of benefits that should be going to people with disabilities, to children. They want to take away the food, I mean, the from children, the drinkable food, they want to take away. And so I'm saying, decide that you're going to reach out as directly as possible to the members of Congress who are making the decisions. And they're starting to change a little bit, because what they are learning is that they're going to lose their elections if they don't listen to you and all the other people who need the support, like Medicaid. So I really urge you, invite everybody to call their friends and their families. Do it online, do it in person, do it on the phone. Make sure that your voices are being heard. And, in my view, you want to be threatening. You want to say that members should be concerned that they could lose their elections if they turn their back on people who need all these benefits that have been designated for you and for us. So I just thank you so much, because you can be the fire starters, the fire people that go with all of us. You don't always have to be there in person, but if you can, that's good. But if not, make sure that that voice of yours is heard loud and clear. Trust me, I know as a member of Congress what it means when the phone starts ringing. And don't insist that you also talk to the actual member if you can, not just the staff. They'll pass it on, maybe. But if you want to talk to, and you deserve as much to talk to the member of Congress, if it's in your district, for sure. If it's not, find someone who will do it and explain to them how easy it is to make that phone call. We're starting to win right now. The Republicans may have voted against us during that overnight that we had, but we know for a fact that many, many more of them are feeling scared of you, and they should be. So make sure you're tough, that you're strong, that you're brave, because I know that you are, to ask for the things that you need as citizens of the United States of America, or even people who are just living in the United States of America. Let's get going. Because when we fight, how can you finish that? When we fight,
We win.
let's go. When we fight, we
We
win. Let's say it
win.
together. Come on. When we fight,
We
We
win.
win.
so let's have some fighting going on. Thank you. I love you. I'm with you all the way, and I always will be.
Woo!
Thank you so much,
Thank
Congressman
you.
Sharkowski. That just fired me up right away. Um,
I
I
say to the women, be a badass. I don't know exactly what I say to the men. Maybe it's be a badass. But anyway, you've got to fight.
everybody has to be a badass. I think Renee has raised her hand. Is that correct,
Sure.
Renee? I don't, did you want to?
There. I'm sorry, you probably already answered this question, but I live in Eastern Oregon, which is kind of red, but I'm I'm represented by like Ron Wyden, like super liberal dude, and this
Good.
other one in Oregon, I can't remember his name, but he's like Ron Wyden. So my question is, if you're in an area where you're represented by liberal guys that are on your side, what do you do?
You
What do
know,
you,
first of all, I would call Senator Wyden because he's an activist too.
yeah,
He
he is.
So ask him that question. What would be the best for you who lives in his district to what action should you take? Call him. He may have exactly the target that needs to be hit.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Sure.
I will tell you too that we've had good luck because I know that on Tuesday during the markup of that bill, every Democrat brought one of their constituents or had somebody be there virtually so they could tell their stories. So that kind of thing is mounting and being tracked regardless of what party.
Well, you mean the Democrats who spoke, but the
Right,
Republicans,
right. No, I'm talking
Republicans
the ones who
too
brought
much.
constituents who said Medicaid saved my life and here's why, etc. Um,
Exactly. But you know what? They they know better. I'm telling you. They just are told to vote no, just to vote no. But it's starting to change. It really is. It really is.
Okay, I think I see Dupree who's going to speak after we have this Q&A, but Dupree has raised their hand. Dupree, please ask.
Yeah, Congresswoman, I just want to know what was yesterday's vote about and what did it mean? It was kind of a win. It was kind of a win for us, but is there any, does it mean it's stalled? Does it mean that they're going to continue with the budget that we have now for this year?
No.
or what's what's that? Is it a victory either way, or what's going on? Could I just get a little bit of information?
Okay,
Or
we didn't have a final vote, so we keep pushing. And I know that a number of the Republicans who heard us, I know they feel some shame. And they don't even think. And they rarely even talk. They just say no, just say no. So we're just continuing this battle of yes, of how we're going to take care of people. And that's what we want help from. I mean, you are better in many ways than we are. If everyday people call and say, look out, you're going to lose your vote. We're going to talk to everybody with a disability and their families. So get wise. You don't have that much time left, you tell those Republicans. So, yeah, they voted badly. We expect that, but we're not anywhere near the end here. We're still fighting, and you are too.
thank you, Congresswoman.
You got it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Congresswoman Sierkowski?
You know, they put in a newspaper a picture of me, a national picture, a picture of me holding a young boy who has cerebral palsy and a bunch of other things, and saying that we have to care about this child. It made the top of the page. And so people are listening, and they're listening to you. So please get busy. It's fun. It's fun to fight, and it's even better fun to win.
That's true.
Question for you. I can't see the hand thing.
Oh, well, just come. Okay, my partner just, I can't, he's like, I don't know how to raise my hand. So I'm just gonna, you just have to unmute yourself, Robert, and then ask the question.
Hi, how are you? My question is, I know a lot of people are scared to protest or to actually be out in the open, even show their faces in a lot of cases. How should folks, especially people with disabilities that can't really take chances, protest or respond to these types of issues that we're looking at currently?
I don't think you need to. What are they going to do to you? Think about it. You need to be brave and strong and speak out. You have as much right as anybody else in the United States, and certainly members of Congress need to listen to you. Please, if you need to be with someone so that you're speaking together, I get that. That makes sense. Think of what gives you some comfort. But even if your voice is shaking a little bit, go for it. Go for it. They need to hear what you are saying to them, especially as their constituents. Come on, you tell them what you think. And even if your voice is shaking a little bit, don't worry about it. Just go for it. That's why we're here today, to talk about, and maybe you'll be talking more about confidence and speaking to members. But they listen. They listen because they're afraid of people who will vote against them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay, is there anything in the chat that you want to share?
Yes, I do have some comments to share. Real quick though, please co-host me again. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, sure. Let me find.
Thank you so much. Okay, couple things to highlight. Thank you very much, Representative Sierkowski. People have been asking about like emails and petitions. So the best petition site is resist.bot. And one of the email sites that's recommended is democracy.io. And I have reposted that in the chat. I'm happy to do so again. but just want to highlight that. And there's also a specific one for ResistBot that's related to it's already existing, and it's urging Congress to reject harmful Medicaid and social safety net cuts. So that link is in the chat. I'll be reposting that. And I also want to share a couple of comments related to what Robert brought up. One of the participants has said, they can arrest us. That's what I'm worried about. Our president is arresting and deporting citizens without probable cause. So I haven't protested in real life since Biden was in office. Another participant has said, the scientific community is organized well, and we have resources for calling reps and other actions too, such as standupforscience.net. A lot of us work on accessibility and healthcare. Please excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to scroll back up, my bad. And we're pushing back on cuts to research in healthcare, so please get involved. No need to be a scientist. We have simple actions like distributing flyers, and these are good volunteering opportunities. And other people are talking about like letters to elected officials and so forth. One other person has mentioned, do you go to a school or teach at one? Write to them and demand that they resist attempts to get rid of DEI. Write to your local hospitals to demand that they restore care for all people. If you have a local paper, write to the paper. And there are a number of places where you can get scripts or make up your own. So thank you. I'll give the interpreters a break. Hope I was slow enough. Sorry about that.
Don't be afraid about getting arrested. If someone gets some threat, just call it out so we all know, and we will all come and fight back. It doesn't necessarily have, really? You think they're gonna just arrest people with disabilities? You will have millions of people standing with you to oppose that. Try and not be afraid. What all those things you said we should do, we should all do.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Lauren has mentioned in the comments that there were 26 people who were disabled who were arrested.
They wanted to be.
But that's Priya and I had actually talked about that, and that was done through ADAPT, I believe, and it was actually an intentional effort to they knew. I don't mean to say that in a mean way, but they did know what they were getting into. And they also had Representative Pallone asking, listen, these are disabled people, please don't do this, etc. They had people having their backs, is what I'm trying to, my point. And the Capitol Police are not Trump's militia. So they don't tend to view things or treat people the way that perhaps he might have wanted. And that's a good thing.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I agree. And then I'll just read, I see in the chat, it says, and if they stop, we will replace, what does it say? Oh, we replace them. They can't arrest us all. That's what Steve says. Stephen, I don't know if you go by Steve or Stephen, but thank you.
Either is fine.
Thank you. So does anyone have any more questions? I don't want to cut anyone off because this is a great opportunity of speaking to a person that knows what it's like on the inside. Let's just put it that way.
Question, actually.
My nickname is Badass. And I'm telling you, I'm trying to get people to be braver, because you're right. You are what you want is what everyone should have. So, try and be a badass, men and women.
Ivana, is that how you say your name? Ivana, go ahead.
Hi. So apologies for my voice. I'm quite literally in bed because I'm sick. Part of my disabilities, I'm immunocompromised. Um, my question is, so I know that Congresswoman, you recommended that we reach out, via email or phone. And that's a popular way of trying to connect with your representatives, both at the state, local, and federal level. But from a point of view of someone who has worked on Capitol Hill before for
Hmm.
representative, um, not all of them are going to be receptive to calls like how you are. And I remember when I was working there and we'd get calls about issues, even if the representative was technically liberal or progressive, um, we were required to just tell them, the people who were calling us were required to just say that, oh yeah, we'll let the representative know, and we'd put things on a sticky note. And if it got enough complaints, then we'd maybe write a pre-scripted email response to a concern. But most of the time we wouldn't, and we would just put on a sticky note that would get trashed. And I know that that's not the only office that it happened in, the office I worked for, even though the representative is a great person. What do we do then when, people aren't being receptive?
So you're saying there wasn't even any kind of response from that member?
It depended on the issue. If the issue got enough calls and we marked down enough tally marks, then we'd send it over to a ledge reviewer, and then they would write something up press related. But if it was a one-off call, or maybe 5, 10 people called, it wasn't considered like concerning enough.
Well, one of the things that everyone's listening to, for example, is that Medicaid has to be funded.
Mm-hmm.
Medicaid has to be funded, and we certainly can't take um, um, liquid away from the children. They would die. So I just think that if it's not something obscure, if it's something as major as Medicaid, um, shame on them if they don't answer. Maybe you ought to make a call. I've called 3 times. I haven't heard anything, no mail, no nothing. I expect to hear from my member of Congress, and I'd really appreciate it. I like this person, the member, but where do you stand on Medicaid or whatever you want to ask about? You don't want to get too obscure about what you're asking for, though, because this is huge right now, especially for seniors, for people with disabilities. This is huge.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see. Kat, I'm going to call Jamie. I don't know how to say your last name, Jamie. I'm sorry. But go ahead, and then Kat can go after her.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
say, Kat, we should get together, okay? In the district. Just saying. I'd
Yeah.
love,
I
I'd love,
just joined the She Votes Illinois board, so I'll be very involved.
okay, let's be involved with each other, okay? Great.
I did want to mention though that a lot of people are speaking up right now, so it isn't the same as one voice in a void. It's momentum, and we do have to keep going, but you can ask for meetings when you call, and you can ask that they be virtual. I did that. I spent 4 years with my state representative working on a bill. And all of our meetings were virtual because she knew I was immunocompromised, and she accommodated me. And Congresswoman Schakowsky just had a virtual town hall. So it's not impossible to have that kind of contact. But I do think calling is the #1 way. I've looked at the data, et cetera. I've been involved for a bit. But that is the top way, is making a phone call.
Right. So I know you have a big agenda. I'm just going to thank all of you who are there and say, my office, Jan Schakowsky, we'll help in any way that we can, that I can personally. So Kat, it's great to have you in the district and all of you who are here today. So I'm gonna go if I can figure out how to get out of this, but I will. Okay. I don't know what I press exactly.
Okay. Oh, Jamie, I'm sorry. But we'll go ahead. Maybe we can answer the question.
Oh, that's okay. I kind of lost my train of thought anyway. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But I will say just thank you to everyone hosting this and the moderators and of course Jan, Schakowsky. And I think my question had to do something with um, the lies that I'm in Kevin Kiley's district, which is a Republican, and he will send out mailers saying, I will not vote for Medicaid cuts and things like that. And so I do encourage representatives to put the exact part of the bill, the verbiage in what they share online, that spells it out and says, actually, this is what it says. If you can point to the page, the title, the section of it, the exact part of it, I think that really helps as far as cutting the lie out right for everyone to see, so that we can send to the Republicans that are claiming that there are no cuts. We can send it directly to the section instead of trying to find it ourselves. Is very difficult when the bills and everything changes so frequently.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good advice. Thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate that. So Dupree, we have you scheduled to talk. I thought we'd have a lot more time, but a lot of people had questions for Congresswoman Schakowsky, including you. But please,
Yeah.
go ahead and talk for a couple of minutes of why Section 504, Medicaid, and the ADA is so important to us as a disabled community.
Well, like I said before, I to the Congresswoman, like our voice is working. It's getting to everybody, and I would just have to say, the Department of Education, the Administration of Community Living, that's, those are the type of organizations or that keep the disability system going, especially for a lot of things. I would say, like the 504 plan is that, if they would cut that, um, it will, a lot of kids won't be able to go to school anymore or, get the services that they need or get any of those things like that. And, the Rehabilitation Act transferred to the IDA again, so got renamed there. But I just want to say today is that, if you guys are parents, if you guys are self-advocates or you guys have lived experience, I was raised on Medicaid. I was raised on that because I've been on it most of my whole life. And if we ever, as we're going through these uncertainties and cuts, I'll probably lose my living. I'll probably lose my benefits. I'll probably not be included. And we're not trying to go backwards, and all the progress that Congresswoman talked about is very at stake right now. And even though it's in the law, they're trying to cut it away. And I just want to tell people today is that let's just keep hope alive, keep fighting, keep making your voices heard, be your authentic self and tell the truth, because this is the second time we're going through this administration. And the first administration of his time, my voice was killer and everything, but this time my voice is louder, and I'm going to continue to fight and do the protest and everything. I'm from the state of Minnesota, if Priya just keeps forgetting.
You're lucky.
Yeah, so I got I got the governor that was the VP candidate last year. And we're kind of going through a little battle in our state too about our budget. Which is still like compromising right now. But anyways, I feel like let's just keep hope alive and like the congresswoman said, just keep fighting. And 504 is good. A Department of Education is good. And if you guys are parents with people with kids with disabilities, just make sure they continue to get the services and support that they need. So that's what I would like to say today. And it's just a little voice of confidence since we didn't have so much time, but thank you very much for listening to me. So,
Thank you for talking, Dupree. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
welcome.
So, yeah, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for the questions. That was great. So we're going to move on to the next section now because art is such an important thing. And I think it's a way to express how we're feeling. And so I'm going to have this art break right here. And it's Ricky. The first one, actually, the first video is the Disability Pride Art Show we did last year in 2024 during July, Disability Pride Month. And it's just all artists that took part. So go ahead and share that, Ricky. I'll remove myself. Well, the internet had some fun with that one. Okay. So, what was the next one? The next one, the next one is a video made by Chanika Zvetlis, and I think it's about pharmaceuticals. So, continue to play that. I hope I pronounced her name correctly.
Because it was not there. I would have to go banana to somebody who wasn't there. And I was so surprised when I saw the movie because I saw recently, I just sit there and I cry my eyes out when I see it. I'd love to really never see it. But you have to really use your imagination when you're for people with a disability. Oh, no. There.
It's a miracle that the drug exists.
And
But,
I need to
the idea
escape-
that I'm beholden to it
this
is really
feeling.
a little scary.
Call your
I
doctor
need
if
to
you have high
ignore
fever,
all
stiff
the
muscles, and
lies,
confusion to address a possibly
all your
life-threatening condition.
meaningless
Or if you
cries
have uncontrollable muscle movements, as these could become permanent.
that feed
Decreases in white blood cells, which can be
And
serious.
shelter.
Dizziness upon standing, seizures.
the voices in my head.
all across the country. The pharmaceutical industry has spent nearly $263 million on lobbying so far this year, employing 3 lobbyists for every member of Congress.
They have really endless resources to throw at shaping the outcomes of legislation.
Okay, and I'm not, the next is a disabled musician named Galen Lee, who's really, I love her music so much. And this is I forgot the name. I think it's called In the Woods. And, or no, I forgot the name. Hold on, let me see. Let me see what the name is. I can't remember. I'm sorry, Galen, but this is a song by Galen Lee.
I want people to think about what comes to mind when they think of disability. I think often our society has ingrained us with this idea of negative terminology that pops up, or medical terminology, or barriers and limitations. And I want us to start noticing that. And when we do it, to switch gears and recognize that disability is also adaptability, it's also resilience, it's also creativity, it's also inspiration for the art that we create. It's also the way that we move in the world, the way that we relate to people. There's so many positive parts of disability, and I will be so excited on that day when you ask someone what disability must be like. And the answer is not negative, that it's positive, that it's celebratory, that it's an acknowledgement of value rather than some sort of lack. And so that's what I want to see in the world in my lifetime. Pushing up through the dirt just like a seed, but you're never quite a flower. You feel more just like a weed. Driving through, you wanna know where you are going, but the windshield's always dirty, and you never get to see what makes you think that you'll ever get there. What makes you think you deserve to know? Who are you really? Are you so important? Take a look around and watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Need advice, you have no clue what you're doing. Moral compass it is, spinning, an identity unhinged. Where to turn, where to turn? There's so many opinions, and they're all a little different, and the outlook's getting dim. What makes you think that you'll ever get there? What makes you think you deserve to know? Who are you really? Are you so important? Take a look around and watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. I would want people to hear that disability culture is here and that it's ready to be celebrated. Disabled people have been making art, have been writing poetry, music, creating things, advocating for things. We've been doing amazing things since as long as people have been around, and we've been changing the world, but it hasn't been acknowledged in our society. And so now is the time to start digging, to finding those stories where we can start to uplift and celebrate disability culture. Do the research if you haven't done it yet, because we're out there and we're making change every day. Pushing up through the dirt just like a seed, but you're never quite a flower. You feel more just like a weed.
Yay. Awesome. Okay, the next video we have is by Katrina Smith. She is a dark-skinned woman with dark hair, and she's wearing a white t-shirt, and this is her poem. Oh, can't hear.
Hello, my name's Katrina, and I'm here to recite a poem that I have written. It's called The Key to Life, and it goes something like this. When life gives you a brick, build something. When life gives you a rock or a stone, create a path. When life gives you a torch, light your way because your journey just began.
Thank you. That was awesome. I feel like they're here. I'm like, thank you, Katrina. I think Katrina is here somewhere. So thank you, Katrina. That was awesome. And then the last art during this section, it'll be Frances Bukowski, who's a photographer with chronic illness, and she has a great body of work.
A disabled artist, I'm also a direct support professional for folks with disabilities, and unfortunately, my work schedule meant that I had to miss attending this meeting, though I am with you in spirit. My name is Frances Bukowski, and I am a photographer located in Marshall, North Carolina, who explores disability, gender identity, and ecology in my work. I am interested in complicated relationships, the ones that arise at the intersection between bodies, places, and identities. When I make images, I am making them through the sensory experiences of my own body to encourage us all to consider the entangled relationships that all bodies participate in. My work is informed by disability, queer, and ecological studies to create projects that reach into the intimate and mundane to connect the personal to the systemic. I'm interested in how photography can be used to reject individualism and highlight interdependence and care, both for human and more than human bodies. I'm sharing images today from my most recently completed project, Upheaval, a body of work that was made following an acute phase of illness that permanently changed my relationship to my body and the world around me. Throughout this project, I used photography to create visuals of my chronically ill and disabled body outside of a medicalized context, and have introduced lumen prints of medical ephemera to encourage the viewer to connect otherwise invisible conditions to daily life. I will go through the images once silently and then provide some context on a second run through. Upheaval views my relationship to place through a disabled lens, particularly my relationship to Appalachia. The photographs for Upheaval were made in transition between my hometown in Otsego County, New York, and my chosen home in Madison County, North Carolina. By revisiting childhood memories as well as family history, I trace the origins of my own disabled body through time and relationships, creating a medical history that is independent of medical access. Grief is a present theme throughout this work as I grieve a shattered sense of self upheaved through illness, as well as engage with family trauma. By transforming medical ephemera into lumen prints, I begin to reclaim traumatic memories and integrate them more fully. Making self-portraits gave me a process within which I could hold space for my body and discover a home within myself and within the world around me. Engaging with the natural world has always been a large part of my life, and throughout this project, I consider the ways that chronic illness and disability intersect with the relationship I have to natural spaces. River rocks become tools for physical therapy, a cold plunge in the river becomes a migraine treatment, laying on warm mountain rocks becomes a balm for spasming muscles. By drawing on childhood memories, family history, and exploring my current relationship to place, Upheaval meditates on the ways that grief and illness lives within my body by returning to repeated visual motives and gestures in documentary and self-portrait photography. Lumen prints of medical ephemera introduce chronic illness into the work as a backdrop that informs images that may not otherwise be read in a medical context. Rather than arriving at a fictional healed state, Upheaval points to a continuous process of transition in the relationship between my body and the world around me. Thank you so much, Priya, for inviting me to speak about my work, and thank you everyone for being here. You can see a larger selection of Upheaval on my website and snippets of ongoing work on my Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frances. Such a powerful body of work. So what is next? I don't know. I'm confused. Not really. I'm not confused. So next up is a very important thing to me because I lived in Asheville that got hit by Hurricane Helene. Laura is here, my friend who lived in LA, and they dealt with these fires. So we thought it would be great to have Sherry Myers, who is from the Partnership of Inclusive Disaster Strategies, or the Disability Disaster Hotline. So we'll have Sherry here. I think we should spotlight her right now.
Thank you, Priya. I real quick, I actually private messaged Dupree, but I wanted to just kind of shout out, I'm in Minnesota as well and would love to connect Dupree. So I sent you my email address and phone number. So I work for the Partnership for Inclusive Disaster Strategies. I'm the Disaster Response Operations Coordinator. And we are the only national organization that is focused on disability and disaster response, recovery, education, and we are disability led. Everyone on our staff, we're all people with disabilities. We have a hotline that is, we don't have live operators, but we do have people on shifts covering when calls come in, and we'll get back to a person as quickly as we can. If it's an emergency, we're all kind of standing by, and hopefully at some point this will become a live operator kind of thing. But just to kind of go over some of the things that that we do, we have disaster tips on our website, which is disasterstrategies.org. And you can you can find general tips. We focus on things that you can do over time and on encouraging people to work year round on being prepared for disasters. And we're also currently kind of looking at how we can provide information about hazards in an individual area. Like I said, I'm in Minnesota and we don't get hurricanes. Now I do put a big focus on hurricanes. I have, just as background, I previously worked for the American Red Cross as their disaster disability integration program manager and the National Disability Integration Coordinator for the organization enterprise-wide. So across everything from disaster to service to military families and Biomed, which is the blood donation and collection part of Red Cross. Before that, I worked for a smaller organization that sort of morphed over time into the partnership. But I've spent a lot of time on the ground, deployed in areas that have had everything from threats of a dam breaking in California to earthquakes to fires, hurricanes, tornadoes, you name it. So I don't think of myself so much as a disaster subject matter expert because I'm always learning. So but I do have, experiential knowledge. And so anyway, the partnership has a really robust website with a whole lot of, we have posts about registries. A lot of people feel like registries are a good thing, that if you're a person with disabilities, sign up for registries. But guess what? No one's coming. Registries are not maintained, and they're not a good use of time or resources in terms of our community. Being at the table locally is the most important thing you can do. Get involved, just like we were talking about contacting, our Congress folks. It's really important to let your local emergency management know, I can help you with this. I can help you in creating response plans and recovery plans for my community. And it makes a huge difference. Now, in the current environment, your emergency management may not be receptive to that, but I'm going to tell you, with all of the things that are happening around FEMA and the possibility that FEMA will be absorbed into something else, and we won't have FEMA people on the ground. They've already discontinued a plan to knock on doors, go out into the neighborhood and do actual outreach. They won't be doing that again, at least not for the time being. There is an opportunity, and I will send the information to Priya. There's an opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. It ended on the 15th. I apologize. But the partnership is working with the General Accounting Office. Hopefully they don't go away anytime soon because they have asked for help. A FEMA review committee has been created with a number of emergency managers from around the country. But given some of the things that have happened with FEMA over the last week, it's pretty terrifying. But we have to, again, band together, get out there, be heard. And I can't stress that enough. In places where we have seen, like Centers for Independent Living, come together, work together, work with their local government. There are some things happening in places like Florida, where they really have changed the whole dynamic. And we are, people with disabilities are well represented on different types of committees and working groups and that kind of thing, but also the statewide Independent Living Council director is in the Emergency Operations Center when they're activated and there are things going on. So it's changing the way that emergency management and other organizations respond to people with disabilities. And like I said, I will put our hotline number into the chat, but it is 800. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget it. It's 800-626-4959. So I'll put that in the chat as well. And I'll put our website, and I'm happy to take questions.
Well, I'll just start. It's not a question, but I'm just going to tell you my experience. I did have to call Partnership and the disability hotline, and I was like, they're not, when you're going through these things, you're like, will they call? They called and got, they figured out how, I didn't talk to, but the day I was about to give up and be like, all right, I guess I'll go stay in a hotel and figure out what's going on, I got a text from FEMA saying, you've been approved. So even though it seems like it's not going to work for you, it does work. It just won't. It's not an instantaneous thing. So I just want to say my experience was great and I got helped and I was very happy about that. So if anyone else has a question, yeah, no problem. If anyone else has a question, please go ahead.
I do. FEMA was started by President Jimmy Carter in 1976 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he created that program to, help states that couldn't afford, to get disasters like state of Georgia, where he's from, made sure you got funding for that. And it was supposed to, gather and help you go if you got it in an hurricane or, all those things. And he put that in law forever, you know what I mean? And I just don't really, I just think, I have a question. I just don't think that this administration really understands the foundation of this. And, so my question is do you believe that they know the mission or is it, because they can't stop it without Congress, but I'm just saying so I just wanted to say, is it gone? Because I know on the government website, they're changing narratives to this, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And everything. And it says it was like Biden's administration doing, but it's really not. But are you just on pause right now or are you, or what's the deal? Because hurricane season and stuff is coming up soon.
A couple of weeks. Yep.
Yep.
It's coming, and FEMA is certainly not prepared to respond to it. So I think I really do firmly believe that what we can do at this point is connect with local grassroots organizations, partner with them. This is what we do at the partnership. And we have to find other ways to go about response. I know that we will be looking, we don't particularly rely on federal money anyway. So we will be looking to private funders, but that's another thing that needs to be done is that, big donors, people who make big grants and that kind of thing, they need to know that this is where we are. We need to be able to rely on those big donors, private foundations, and that kind of thing. Because, you know, we all talk about he can't do this without Congress, but where is Congress? What are we doing? There is a campaign going on with the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And it's about, you know, you can reform FEMA, which is the approach you should take. And I think everybody recognizes that it needs reforming. You know, it takes forever for them to act. And, you know, we help people who get denied time after time after time, and you can appeal as many times as you have the energy to do. But there comes a point where some people just give up. And so our hotline is here to assist people, connect them with their Centers for Independent Living. They are fabulous partners for us. And, you know, some have active disaster response and recovery activities going on. It's an unfunded mandate. So, you know, we understand. And there are states where, you know, there's no disaster activity going on. However, with extreme heat and extreme winter weather, no place is going to be free of disasters. We know they're going to be there. And so just, you know, finding ways to get emergency management and disaster response efforts locally funded, and kind of taking a mutual aid approach and really engaging at that grassroots level, I think, is where our future is for disaster response, because disasters happen locally. They start locally and they may grow into something that gets national attention, but maybe not. You know, we're not sure what will happen at this point. And there's only been one individual assistance declaration this year. Everything else was public assistance where the money goes to emergency management. But there's argument around, you know, the split, you know, 75-25, is it 100? You know, these are the things that keep me up at night. So, you know, I'm always thinking about it, and that's really where I think we are at this point, because the objective seems to be to put FEMA somewhere else under some other agency. I have no idea where that would go other than where it is right now, but you know, and to not put forth the effort to reform. Under a different administration, I would be all for reforming FEMA. It needs work, but you know, it's just kind of a wait and see at this point. And thank you for the question, Dupree.
Thanks, Dupree. Does anyone else have a question? Are there any questions? Okay, well, I just did want to mention the next section is going to be this collaborative art. We're going to do, and I forgot to mention, Sharon had told me that you don't need to go sign up to Padlet, that we could just use the template that Sharon had set up. So I will ask Sharon to share that link again right now, because I don't know where it is. And then I'm not sure if Matthew is here. So I guess we should just spotlight Sharon and Matthew at this point. Oh, y'all are together. Yay. Okay, let me.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to also say, Priya, will you be able to screen share? Can I screen share?
Ricky.
Well, is it something that you would like to screen share yourself?
Yeah, I think it'll be easier because there are two things. So
Okay,
it'll,
so we just have to make that happen.
okay, cool.
Just let us know if it's gonna get wild and I'll record. All right, just kidding. Here we go.
It's like, we're already recording.
Let's
Get
see,
ready.
where are we? I have to find you. We got a long list of people here.
So Sharon,
Yeah.
Francis.
Sharon Francis, I think. So let me just read some of the stuff that's in the chat.
Yeah, thanks.
While Ricky's figuring that out. Let's see, roll up. Oh no. Okay. So we have, there's a veteran disabled friend doing FEMA type emergency resource building. I'll post this website here in a minute. Thanks for talking about this. And that's Disability Activism SF. And then they shared a thing that happens every Friday, a disabled makers DIY kind of group where he met this person, and he included the link to that and the password and stuff like that. So if y'all want to join in with that, that's cool. And there are other groups doing stuff a lot in DC right now. This is a great group to be involved in. And they shared the link. So if you want to check that out, it's a Google group, it looks like. So you can do that. And I'll try to share all of these resources actually in a Google Doc, and I'll email it. While I'm here, join my email list. And if you like what we're doing, then consider donating to DIY Abled for an accessibility fund, so we can get ASL interpreters and pay for the accessibility for the captions and so on and so forth. And are we ready?
We're ready to go.
All right, I'm going to stop talking. Go for it.
Okay, so maybe I should have prepared that screen share ahead of time. So I'm hoping that my computer will allow us to do that. But we'll introduce ourselves first, and then we'll figure it out as we go. So Matthew's going to start.
Hi, I'm Matthew. Thank you for giving us time today. I guess I think of myself as having a little bit of an invisible disability, which is chronic pain. I have had some neurosurgeries to help correct it. Didn't really help, but I still suffer from it. And it sort of gets in my way of being able to complete daily tasks. It was hard to continue working at a certain point. And I ended up leaving work to go work on a nonprofit with Sharon about emotional well-being in families impacted by cancer and other disabilities. And now I've actually gone back to school. So that's who I am and what I'm about right now.
And I'm Sharon. I am a social justice artist and an author and illustrator. I was a teacher for 25 years, and I taught through my invisible disabilities of anxiety, depression, and panic, sometimes running to the bathroom to do my tapping and grounding in order to be able to go back in and do my job. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer 7 years ago, and the medication that I'm on causes chronic pain and fatigue, and found that it was difficult to continue to work full time as a teacher because of the requirements of teaching, which are physically very demanding, as well as emotionally very demanding. So I've really enjoyed being able to do my art more, more frequently and throughout the day, and have found a real voice for myself, both as a mental health educator, advocate, and also as a social justice artist in this horrific time that we're, in my view, we are in right now politically. So what we're going to do is Matthew is going to talk to you really quick about what we're going to focus on today, and we're going to ask you all to get involved. Did I post that Padlet link? No. Did I? Maybe. I'm going to post it again. So while Matthew's talking, I'm going to post the Padlet link.
So while we were thinking about what to do for this space today, we decided we wanted to focus on self-care. And yeah, because as a disability community and as individuals, we're finding that we're having to fight again for rights and policies that we fought so hard to get in the first place. And all of this comes at a cost. It adds stress to our lives and takes energy away from everything else we have to do. And it's easy to get overcommitted, forget to take care of ourselves, or even run out of steam, or some people like to say, to run out of spoons. So for our reflection prompt today, we'd just like you to think about, as you live with this administration's attack on DEIA, disability rights, and other rights, how do you engage in self-care during these times of stress? And Sharon?
Yeah, and so okay, so it is asking me to, oh, here we go. Okay, so let's see if this share work. Beautiful. Isn't that amazing?
Okay.
So, okay, so we should be on screen share, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you see it? Ah, wonderful. Okay, so here is the Padlet. And while you're working, I wanted to share a piece that I just wrote that helped me in both my invisible disabilities and like the toll that it's taken on my self-worth. And then and I'll be sharing that with you while you're looking at the Padlet. So basically it's kind of a place where you can put stickies, right? And so each person can double click on the screen. And when you double click, it brings up your post spot. And so you can put your subject. Mine is this pinned post right here. It says self-care during anxiety. And I posted a picture that I had made. And then my text is that I use visualization, grounding, and tapping to help bring me back into my body. I often imagine I'm lying on the warm sand at the ocean's shore. So you can type in maybe your name here, and then you can type in something. Or what's cool is there's a lot of different ways up in here in this box of icons that you can post something artistic, something practical. It could be a screenshot of something, or it could be a specific audio clip where you record yourself talking rather than typing. So there are a lot of different ways that you can respond to the prompt. And then if you're couldn't remember that, like me, I have to see it. I can't just, it doesn't stick in my brain without seeing it. The prompt is right here at the top. So I just wanted to, as you're writing, I wanted to share a little poem and set of images that I created just this week, kind of as a self-care process. So it's, I am enough. I know this person, the shape of me, my scent, my curves and wrinkles, all my moments. On days I tremble, I give myself a butterfly hug and release not knowing how to love myself. I remember myself. I am multitudes, hard and soft, quiet and loud, full and empty, scared and certain. Healthy in my size, tracing today's scars, kissing parts of me I can reach, giving myself this gift. I accept myself, one with sun and stars, toes planted on earth, skin tickled by wind. I am enough, grounded in my breath, my radiant, radical self. And this I created into a zine. So I you can fold it up and just have a little reference for yourself, or you can pass it out to other people with some photocopies. So I'll drop that in a folder that we'll share with you at the end. You can also use this QR code. I'll provide these slides, and you can use the QR code to download in my art as well, in my own art folder. So let's head back to the Padlet, and maybe Matthew, you can read some of the things that you see people's responses. And I also want to check in the if somebody could read the chat, if anybody has questions or is having trouble posting into the Padlet, we can also read what people write in the chat.
So it looks like we've got a couple of entries so far. Let's look at this first one here with the picture. Do we know who wrote that? Priya.
That was me.
So,
I did that when Sharon sent it to me. I was like, I should add.
yeah,
to
definitely.
this.
Sophia says, I like to make things out of clay. Figuring out how the clay becomes something else is a meditative state and allows me to focus on that instead of my physical and mental pain. I really like that because that doing is a grounding activity, and it sounds really wonderful. I think I'm going to try that one.
How about you? What do you say?
Oh, what did I say? Well, so one of the things I do for self-care is I just like to make sure my immediate needs are taken care of before I start working on something. And I get this concept called mise en place, which is a French phrase. And I think it means something like knives in place or everything in place or something like that. And the idea is when a chef is going to start cooking, rather than seeing what's the next thing on the recipe and running to the fridge and getting that, and what's the next thing, and oh, I need a spoon. They get everything set up. They read the whole thing, have all their spoons and ingredients and everything ready so that when they start to cook, it's much more relaxed and it takes the chaos out of it. And so I like to do that. So let's see, then another one here is just really great is, I don't know, it doesn't have a person's name on it, but it says, don't be afraid to put yourself first. You can't help others if you don't help yourself. And wow. As somebody who's taken care of other people, I've had a few people in my life who needed caretakers. I run myself into the ground. And so I understand the importance of giving yourself a chance to be healthy too, or have your needs met, have a clean mind, a clear mind, so that you can be your best self for other people. And that's really a powerful thing. Thank you.
And one more, I make
I just
art.
wanna read-
Go ahead, go.
I'm going to read something from the chat because someone's asking a question. I volunteered to do a short for more perfect union to fight for healthcare. Is that a thing, or do you want more artistic creations only?
I think that's fantastic. I think volunteering with things that is very much about self-care, right? Because we're like bombarded. I think part of the goal of this administration was just like, they just started shooting stuff at us so fast. And, it's hard to even like absorb everything because it's coming at you so fast. And so that idea of like, what's something that I can contribute? And I felt that way about, I reached out to Priya over Messenger on Instagram, was like, I just want to help. I just love what you're doing. I struggle with even acknowledging that I had a disability, because I think with hidden disabilities, sometimes because I could hide in the bathroom, right? And do my thing, my coping thing, and then go back out. Such fear of stigma. But I wanted to acknowledge it. And in the midst of what's happening with 504, like Dupree talked about, and the threats to Medicaid, I just really want to do that. So I think, yes, I want to honor that. Self-care can be taking political action, taking action in the community. Absolutely.
Can I add something to that? When we do something for other people, like we have all this chaos going on around us, and we find an issue that we can focus on and say, wow, I want to do something about that. That helps the person inside of us find some centering and some peace and find a positive thing that they can do in this sea of chaos and harm that's going on around us in this time. So helping other people is always self-care, as long as you remember to take time for yourself when you need it too.
Yeah, that's true. Like sometimes when you're helping other people, you're forgetting about, it's just kind of a way to distract yourself from what's happening. And sometimes, so it's like a good,
That's also kind of what I put in the Padlet. I put something about how I have intractable pain. You can read it if you want, because I can't see both screens at once, but it was sort of along these lines.
Let's see, we'll switch back over to that screen.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff there now.
Great.
Am I missing? Maybe I have to let me refresh it.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was Kat.
So Kat said, although I have intractable pain from various painful conditions, I've helped to practice self-care by taking pride in what I do and giving myself credit. Because often I don't remember to do so. Thank you, Kat. Yes, giving ourselves credit. That is wonderful. I love that.
I'll read the next one. Tampa Bay Disability Meetup Group. We have a friend group of disabled adults that consistently make time and space for each other to breathe, to laugh, to cry. There's room for all of it.
Yeah. One person says, oh, Carrie says, I function best at night. I love to do meditation, dark yoga. Ooh, I want to know what that is. And treadmill and lifting workouts in the dead of night. It pumps me up and makes me feel the power. That's wonderful. So you pick your time of day when you find your power center. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I repurposed this wheelchair battery into a spot welder. It feels empowering to use wheelchair parts and hack them into new, cool things.
Love that. Community action, taking care of an issue or people in the community is part of my self-care.
Drum it out. I turn the music up and let my spirit unite with all past, present, and future loved ones through music.
Okay. What else do we have? I started volunteering with General Strike US. It has helped me meet amazing organizers and learn so much about things like mutual aid and what we don't just need, and that we don't just need self-care, we need community care. Oh, right on.
Right. Chronic pain with MS. Thank you so much, Sharon and Matthew. I'm an art therapist and filmmaker. Making art has saved my life. Me too. With chronic pain, anxiety, and depression, I would love to share my new documentary called We Are the Most Beautiful People, Adults with Disabilities. It involves disabilities from around the world, including Ghana, India, Chile, Taiwan, UK, and all parts of the US. We are stronger together. And they've included their Instagram on that one. So check out the Padlet in your time. This link will be available. So you can go back to these entries, maybe get some new ideas for self-care. Head over to We Are the Most Beautiful People on Instagram. There's lots of good stuff here. Real rich.
Yeah, Zian, I just saw that post a couple of days ago, it seems like, and forwarded it to a bunch of people. I haven't had a chance to see the documentary yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for putting that out.
And maybe contact me. We Are the Most Beautiful People. I know we have emailed and stuff on Instagram, but maybe we can do a showing of that because I like to show documentaries.
Oh, look at all this. This is fantastic. You want to read that one? The next one?
So fourth ring, Rebecca Yaros. I love fantasy books. I borrow ebooks from the library and either use the speech to text feature or also borrow the audiobook at the same time so I can switch back and forth or re-listen or reread depending on my needs so I can best absorb the material and escape for a bit to another world.
When I volunteer to help with positive actions to work for healthcare justice, I feel like I'm not only doing something, but making a difference. In this video, oh, great. Look, this Padlet person linked to a video, which is fantastic because we can just click out and check it out ourselves. I'm helping More Perfect Union fight for legislation in California to rein in insurance company denials and delays. What a treat. We thank you all so much for sharing, for participating in the Padlet. This was an experiment for us, and it feels like I feel it's a success. I mean, I'm going to do I want to go drum it out right now. I got to watch those documentaries and videos. And I just wrote a book myself and I created an audiobook, and I'm so glad I did and I have the ebook. So I'm so glad to hear people are mixing and matching in order to read and have it most accessible to you. So it's just fantastic hacking that wheelchair battery. I mean, wow, everybody's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt and Sharon. That was awesome. And, maybe we can in the future do like a Padlet hangout type of thing. That would be fun. All right, so look out for that. I'm going to remind everyone to join my email list and to donate for accessibility. That would be 10 minutes a day, and us will do that. And then I don't know what is the next thing. What is the next thing? Oh, let me look. I don't know. Hold on. And then
it was going to be ableism.
Ableism and art.
Yeah.
I did interview Galen Lee and talked about ableism, but when I edited it, I couldn't like Ricky and I we're like, what happened to this video? And it was like, I don't know, I must have made a mistake. It was like a second long, so I must have messed up in the editing and and trying to get all the videos together. I didn't double check. So unfortunately, I can't play Galen Lee's video talking about ableism. But I will edit the video because we actually talked for 40 minutes. So I'll edit that entire video and post it for people to see later. But for now, I was going to do like a thing that I like to call cripping art, which is about talking about art from the disability perspective. And that will be Vanessa Cruz, me, and Laura Brody talking about ableism in art. Oh, okay, cool. And then can you
Hello.
Okay, cool. Ricky said, by the way, we want to thank Ricky and Jay. They're doing such a great job with the chat. And Ricky's like killing it with getting people on spotlight. I'm like, oh, maybe I should help Ricky. And then the person pops up. Okay, never mind. I don't have to help. Okay, so then that's like part of helping other people. I'm like, oh, I have to help Ricky, but Ricky actually is handling it all on his own. Okay, cool. So so Vanessa, you start the conversation. That's like what? Oh my god.
Amazing.
I don't know,
Hello.
ableism. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about ableism we've experienced as artists and musicians. And you go.
Amazing. Yes, let me quickly do a quick introduction since I'm kind of new to this space. Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Hernandez Cruz, pronoun she, her, ella. I currently reside in the unceded lands of the Tongva and Quiche lands, colonially known as Los Angeles, California. A quick visual description. I am a Mexican American woman. I currently have my hair short and down. I have a headset on. I'm wearing glasses with black rims, super goth makeup on today. I'm wearing a fun velvet long sleeve shirt. And I'm in front of a white wall and there's like a lamp behind me as well. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Priya, for inviting me. Super excited to have this conversation with y'all. And Laura also for inviting me and letting me know that this is happening. I love this. Yeah, so a little bit about me. As we dive into this really important conversation in the arts. I am a disabled dance artist. Particularly, I do a lot of solo work. I do some group work. And of course, navigating the field as a disabled person is incredibly difficult, has been incredibly difficult in my experience as navigating getting my degrees in dance and also navigating the dance field at large. Through my journey, I stumbled upon the amazing framework Disability Justice Framework by Sins Invalid, written by amazing queer, BIPOC, disabled people wanting to uplift and acknowledge the intersectionality that exists within our communities. And through that framework, I've done a lot of advocacy work in dance and have done a lot of consulting work as well. Some of the barriers, especially now with what's happening in our administration, is how the NEA is currently being attacked right now. And I know a lot of funding is getting swiped under from many organizations and definitely a lot of smaller organizations as well. And as a freelance artist, it is definitely troubling to know that it's going to be really difficult navigating getting gigs and things like that. And we already have been navigating that in general as disabled artists because a lot of, unfortunately, it's very non-disabled dominant in a lot of the arts fields. And so folks don't necessarily know how to view our work. And so we are constantly having to fight ableism just to even present our work and do our work. But having that said, I know that Laura, Priya have been doing amazing work in fighting those spaces and trying to make room for us to show our work and do our work and get paid to do our work. I think that's absolutely essential. So I want to pass it over to Laura, if you want to talk a little bit about what you do in the amazing gallery that is in exhibition right now in LA, and thought.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I am Laura Brody, for descriptions, older woman with brown hair in front of an embroidered justice sign. So of mixed media. I am the founder and primary curator for Opulent Mobility, which is an exhibit that asks artists and audiences to reimagine disability as opulent and powerful. And one of the things that I try very hard to do each time is to find ways to make it more accessible, more inclusive, in as many ways as I can. And sometimes that's a real challenge. Of course, there's always a challenge finding funding. It's challenge balancing different people's needs, figuring out what's going to work. But as we have seen, it really makes an enormous impact when people feel involved and welcomed, not just accommodated for, but welcomed. And there are ways that we can do that. Maybe you can't help, for example, that your building doesn't have an accessible area, that it can't take in a wheelchair. But you can, say, do a video of all of the work and showcase it someplace else, like on the outside of your building. You can share your things online. You can do art descriptions, which are free. You can do detailed work of trying to make sure that your work is more inclusive in many ways, and to get creative about it, because we are good at that. That's one thing in the creative community. We are very good at it. Sorry, we have a foster dog who has opinions in the background. Dean wants to go outside. Really up on accessibility. But yeah, one of the first things that I found when I was trying to showcase my work was what a challenge it was finding any place that was wheelchair accessible. Because as a beginning curator, that was not an easy find. But also with each step, there are more ways. It can get really overwhelming if you are unfamiliar with it, but it is absolutely doable if you start bit by bit. So I think it's everybody's job to figure out, okay, how can we make it a little bit more so? What else can we do? I know one thing that I try to do regularly that is not common with art shows is ask people to, if they are from overseas or across the country, or they simply can't afford it, to send digital files and get funding so that I can print and frame the work locally. That way nobody has to be left out because they can't afford to ship it, because that's a real cost. I don't know, I would love to have other people's experiences of where people have done things well, and then where people have not done things so well, where they could really get some help. Priya, you probably have some experiences I know you had from your performances.
Well, yeah, so I'm in a band, and I was just trying to think, I was like thinking, well, what is Laura's asking? So one thing I will say is stages are never accessible for some reason. I don't understand that. So, which I don't understand, because a ramp helps musicians move their equipment onto the stage, and me in a wheelchair. So that's one thing I notice. And I actually talked to Galen Lee about that. I was like telling her, it's funny because people will see me transfer onto the stage and then get into my, my bandmate will take the wheelchair, put it on stage, and then I'll get into the wheelchair from the stage, from the stage level. And, I do that, and that's a lot of work, and people are watching me do this, and then we perform, and they're like, oh, your band is so great. It's like, that's so cool the way you got on stage, and it was so great. And I was telling Galen, I was like, it would be great for someone to be like, that sucks that you have to get onto the stage like that. Like, how can we and how can we not, let's just let you perform and not have to do the other side stage show, crawling onto the stage because it's not wheelchair accessible. So that's kind of like my find is like people aren't realizing when they're, and that's like, I think inspiration porn where it comes in play. It's like they find it inspirational that you're crawling on a stage, but not thinking like, oh, you shouldn't have to crawl onto the stage to perform your music or dance or, show art. So yeah, that's kind of my thing with that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
can
sure.
Vanessa speaking. Yeah, I have two examples. One of like my own practice and one where I had an instance with a venue. For my own practice, one of the things that I'm currently developing is this new performance modality that I'm calling Stargazer Portals, in which where I am live streaming queer, trans, BIPOC, disabled artists on stage with me. One of the reasonings behind this is because I've noticed, particularly in the dance field, is that there isn't a lot of disabled artists. There are amazing dance companies, individual artists, but there still isn't enough of us. And I've always wondered, where are our in-bed artists? Where are those folks? How can we bring them into the theater space and get paid to do dance? Because I know people have stopped dancing because of the inaccessibility or the barriers. And so I was able to do something of that sort last year with a piece called Rain Glass Vortex, where we successfully were able to live stream two dancers and do a pre-recorded for the other two artists. And it was an incredible experience, and just to be able to do that. And I'm excited to continue that work. So definitely keep an eye out if I do another call in the future for anyone here who's interested in movement or interested in dancing on stage through this modality. So an example of when things didn't work out, I did a performance last year. I specified my access needs. I was very clear. And they said, yeah, everything is accessible, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, great. So it was like the day before I entered the venue, they failed to tell me that there was a huge step to get on stage. Oh, I was so mad, y'all. It was so bad. I was like, how am I going to get on stage? What is happening? And so similarly to what Galen had to experience was I had to have someone lift me up in some capacity just to get on stage. It was really stressful. I was going to walk out, but also as an artist, I do need to get paid and do work and pay bills. So I'm like, it was kind of one of those like, I could walk out, but I don't really have the privilege to do that at this point in time. So let me go ahead and just do what I need to do and get paid for it. But yeah, it was a very jarring experience. But yeah, I want to, should we open it up to others who want to maybe share one or two experiences?
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Is anybody here an artist and want to share their experiences with ableism? Go ahead. Zion, is that how I say it? I'm sorry. Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Zion.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Hi. Yeah, I am an art therapist. And yes, like I said, art saves my life all the time. But I wanted to share an ableist experience that someone shared with me during the interviews with the film. This piece was not in the film because it gives away too much information. But this person, she is the psychologist at the University of San Francisco. She's really prominent, and she lives with cerebral palsy, and she's in a wheelchair. But she was at her previous university for 12 years, and they had an event for all the professors that were there over 10 years, and they had a dinner. And this dinner was on, you know, the 7th floor of a building, and they had no elevators. And so she could not even attend this event, and being there 12 years, and she couldn't go, and she didn't go. And ultimately she stopped working at that university. But I mean, I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this was very common. This is Laura speaking. One of the pieces in this show over at Brand Library, which, by the way, Vanessa's lovely dance film is in there, Disability Not Ability. It's next door, actually, to a film by Jacqueline Romine that's called Access Denied, which is a really visceral example of exactly what we're talking about. And this is particular to her because she's a wheelchair user. But it is a great many pictures of her from the back in her wheelchair, either at the top of staircases or at the bottom of staircases, unable to get into the venue. And also sometimes when people had made attempts to let her come in and really didn't ask her what she needed, so a chair lift that wouldn't have worked with her wheelchair, other ramps that went part of the way, and then there were still steps up to the bathroom, a bathroom stall that's too narrow that you can't quite get through. And there are so many different access needs that people have. And you may not be able to achieve all of them, but it's really super important to ask to make people feel welcomed. I think a lot of people don't talk as much about the curb cut effect, which if you have curb cuts and sidewalks, yes, that is helpful for people in wheelchairs. It's also helpful for people in strollers, or if you have rolling baggage. You know, captions on a television show mean that a lot of people can experience the show a little bit more easily. Most of the things that are accessibility features, including the haptic functions on your phone, the little buzzing things, were designed for disability in mind, but also help as many people who are not identifying as disabled, or at least not identifying that way now. Because as many people will point out, disability is one thing and one group you can join literally at any time. So making things more accessible now for as many people as possible means you are helping yourself. So let's find ways to do that. End thought.
Yeah, so that's perfect. What you're saying is so perfect. And I was going to say, you know, because like my band is more in a DIY scene, which is like, you know, places aren't, they're not thinking accessibility. They're thinking like, okay, we turn this side of a record store into a space where bands can play. So it's kind of more like a guerrilla style of like creating a space for people that aren't connected to mainstream music or whatever you want to call it. But I always like saying, hey, when you promote a show, just write on a flyer, it's accessible, not accessible, or it's, you know, ADA friendly. I call it ADA friendly, not not accessible, or ADA compliant. And there's such an easy way you could do it. You just put the little symbol. Then people will be like, if the symbol doesn't have a cross through it, then they're going to know it's accessible to them. And then I always tell people to put a contact or a phone number or something, because like we discussed, accessibility is not an easy, we don't know what accessibility is for every person. So it's always good to have a contact so a person can say, hey, I have arthritis and I use a cane. I'm wondering, you saying ADA friendly, so what is it like? Is it, just so a person can ask, because we all know when you're disabled and trying to figure out if a place is accessible, you spend days, weeks, hours to find out if you can actually go. And sometimes because that's so frustrating. Just a lot of disabled people just give up and don't go. So, I think, there's something to that. So that's, I think, is very important. But I do want to say, Ricky, Kat is having trouble turning her camera on, and it says that the host has disabled it. So I don't.
Yeah, no, it's fixed.
Yeah, I had accidentally changed
Oh,
something.
yay, I see her. Yay. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's kind of how I deal with the ableism that exists in the DIY community, kind of explaining how they can reach out to the disabled community and invite them into a space that may not be ADA compliant or accessible all the time. But if they want to see a band, be like, yeah, the bathroom's not accessible, but you can come in and see the band and leave, and you may not be able to use the bathroom. So I just think that kind of information is important when you want to include, because every place is not going to be ADA compliant. We all know that. So
Priya?
it's a good
Hey,
way
it's Sharon. Can I jump in for a sec?
Oh yeah, of course, go for it.
Great, thank you so much. So that's really, by the way, that took me a lot of bravery effort to ask if I could do that. So thank you. Because I have anxiety as one of my
I understand.
favorite things. But I wanted to also speak to ableism is about the tolerance of stigma. So that that there are certain things that are highly stigmatized, whether it's bodies that don't fit into the very narrow beauty standard, or abled body standard, whether it's the mind that doesn't fit into the frame of the normal mind, right? Like there's neurospice and neurodivergence, and then there's like how everyone else is in the center. And so stigma is huge. Like the fact that I would go into the restroom and have panic attacks because people wouldn't give people space to have their own thoughts heard, and then would talk over you when you try to speak. And if you are somebody who's had complex PTSD that is as a result of the adverse childhood experiences, like for myself, that I've lived through, which has then caused like my entire life since age 10 or earlier to 51, where I've been dealing with this emotionally or chronically, the stigma in which emotional issues aren't talked about and they're not tolerated. Like you're not allowed to have a range of emotions in a professional setting. You're not allowed to get upset. We apologize for crying. People all the time will apologize on whether it's on a show or in a relationship. And that is all ableist. The fact that we think that it is not okay to cry as a society, it completely affects people who have mental health issues. We are dealing with the results of a Western colonial patriarchal ableist society that does not allow us to have emotions. And then if we have emotions which are part of the DSM-5, 6, whatever we're on now, if you're in there and you have a psychiatrist and you have to have medication, or like there's all these things about, well, there's the pharmaceutical industry and how, oh, well, we shouldn't be taking medicine because of the pharmaceutical industry and how big it is. Well, yes, there's that. Like I had cancer. I wasn't going to not have chemo because somebody thought that the big pharma is going to like chemo my body and poison me. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not taking that chance. I've got an 11-year-old. So there's a stigma about being sick. There's a stigma about possibly dying. There's a stigma about not having control over your body, and that is a bad thing. That like the fact that I was able to beat cancer, which is not what happens to everybody, and that I had no control over my body, and that I came out the other side with the gift of an appreciation for life is something to be celebrated, not something to be stigmatized. And yet I lost all of my friends. That is an ableist thing because they did not want to see somebody who was dying that was their age. So I think that it is important that we acknowledge that absolutely inclusion and accessibility involves a whole range of things, and mental health is a big old piece of it. Love you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Sharon, can I piggyback on that for just a second? Mental
Well,
health.
I don't want to interrupt you, Kat. Continue, and then maybe we'll move into your call to action part, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I just was gonna say
Sorry.
that mental
Don't
health
be sorry.
parity just isn't a thing. It still isn't. And the data indicates that healthcare professionals are still much less likely to even allow chronically ill people to be their patients. Like it's really hard to get into those practices. And when you're talking about certain things like I'm a chronic pain patient, like physical therapists, like 80 something percent of them said they don't want to work with people who have chronic conditions. And I'm like, but then who do we go to? So I just wanted to echo that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kat. So yeah, that's the cripping art part. And thank you, Laura and Vanessa. That was so awesome. And now I'm gonna hand the mic over to Kat because she wants to, this is a call to action. So what we do in this part, we're going to say, what do we do? And we heard from Congresswoman Sharkowski to fight, because what do we do when we fight? We win. Should we chant that? Let's chant that. Let's do that. So we fight. We win.
We win. We win.
We fight. We win. Awesome, cool. So one of the actions we could do is voting, call our representatives, and I do encourage people to sign up to the DIY Abled mailing list because my goal is to create a disability coalition for some communal living, healthcare, just all these things that we still need to fight for. And I think building a coalition is like a good way to do that. So, Kat, please tell us about voting.
Well, okay, so first of all, I am light-skinned and I have long brown hair. I'm wearing an aqua t-shirt that says disability rights are human rights. So I am the daughter of an immigrant, and my father, when he was born, was living in a country that was under Nazi occupation, and it was a dictatorship. So he immigrated here, and that when he was, part of my childhood, raising me with my mom, he was telling me how important it was to be involved and to participate in a democracy because where they lived, we had relatives who, if you spoke out against the government, just criticized something, you could go to jail or worse. So he's always emphasized how important this is to me. And that's one of the reasons why I feel very passionately about it. But also, it's really important to me too, because our community needs to be heard, and voting is how we do that. And truly, like, we see that, like, we've seen what just happened with 2024, etc. But we've also seen things like the Wisconsin and North Carolina Supreme Court races, which ended up turning out well. And I think people are starting to respond. But that is one of the reasons why I've always thought voting is critical, because it is the first step to participate and to keep something a democracy. I wanted to talk briefly about some of the threats that have been made to voting of late. As we know, there have been executive orders that have been intended to disenfranchise voters that were passed. I believe that they were not found to be constitutional, thankfully. However, what is on the table is the SAVE Act. And the SAVE Act makes voting a lot harder because it requires people to prove that they're citizens. But the only way that you can do that, and this is either to register to vote or to vote in a state that requires an ID. You have to have a passport or a birth certificate, which is not like super easy to obtain for a lot of people and can be very expensive. So the SAVE Act is a really dangerous thing. So actually we have a blog about it on the 10 Minutes a Day website, and let me see if I can pull it up just to get that piece of it. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that.
I have that website, Kat. I'll get it and pull it up. For you.
Okay. Yeah, so it just explains about the SAVE Act. And what I've learned from other people who I organize with is that the SAVE Act, so it passed the House in April. It hasn't passed the Senate. And my understanding is that the odds of it passing are not good unless we get quiet, because then people start sneaking things around. They think that we're not paying attention, etc. So this is just something we have to be vigilant about. And in order to sort of, counteract some of the things that the SAVE Act might do, I'm encouraging people to register to vote immediately, so that at least if you live in a state that doesn't require ID to cast a ballot and you're registered and on the rolls, you have some kind of an advantage and may not need to worry about this if this terrible act were to pass. And I'm encouraging everybody to check your voter registration status, because even people who might have registered recently could not be on the voter rolls currently. That happens all the time. It's called purging. It tends to happen to marginalized communities, and it's my opinion that that is intentional at times. Also, this is a thing that we do need people to contact their senators and their House representatives and tell them, no, we don't want the SAVE Act, because it's kind of gone back and forth, and we just need to keep talking, is the most important thing. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the import of us being heard with voting and the power of our collective voice, because in 2024, there were 40.2 million eligible disabled voters. So we could determine the outcome of any election. However, turnout was down from 2022, which was just a midterm. And I think the reason for that is primarily because a lot of the COVID protections were rolled back, regardless of the fact that people like me who are immunocompromised or disabled or seniors and other people who are at heightened risks, like our immune systems don't stop being compromised. We don't stop being at heightened risks, etc. So those protections were very important and helpful. And so in terms of what you can do for voter protection, I actually have a document that we'll be sharing and that we'll send out. And there are a couple of pages on the 10 Minutes a Day website that have just a lot of voting information. And I think that I have one of them right here. Let's see. Yes, I do. Okay. So this is more general information. And if you go to the 10 Minutes a Day website under the resources tab, there's also information for every single state. It's got every state's voter protection hotline, and it's got every state's contact information for elected officials. And for a lot of the states, there's more specific information about, do I need an ID? And if so, can I get around that, etc. However, I'm advising everybody, every single person should have those voter protection hotlines in their phone before they ever plan to vote. That's the most important thing that you can do. All of the state voter protection hotlines are on both the 10 Minutes a Day website and on DIY Abled website. And the DIY Abled link is right here. So we listed all of the hotlines, and I made sure they were updated as of this year, because sometimes they change. Also, there is a national hotline people can use, because there are some states that unfortunately don't have the infrastructure for a hotline. That number is 833-336-8683. It's English or Spanish. And if you don't want to call, because I know, like in my case, sometimes I don't want to call because I get anxiety. You can actually text. You can just text vote, VOTE, or voto, if you're a Spanish speaker, VOTO, to 70888. Those hotlines are going to be the best tools that anybody can have. Like I have pages and pages of resources here, and I will be sharing them via email, but I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But I do want to talk about a couple of the barriers that are really common that our community encounters. The primary one has to do with accessibility at the polls. And there are 27 states with curbside voting. And I'll be sharing that as well, which states have it and which don't. And I believe it's on the website. But under the ADA, all polling places have to be accessible and safe. So that means, and there's a checklist that the ADA made for polling places, and it applies to every single state. And there's a lot more of the requirements in detail, and I'll share that information later. A lot of us tend to vote by mail, which is called absentee voting. And that's a really good thing to do, except for the fact that so many things have been done to try to destroy the voices of people who are casting absentee or mail-in or whatever you want to call them ballots. In fact, there have been a record number of challenges to try to reject those ballots. So I'm not going to go through all of those things today because honestly, it's several pages. But if you vote absentee, and it is a safe thing to do, vote by mail, etc., make sure that you complete every single part of your ballot return envelope. Your name printed, you're going to have to sign it, you date it with the date that you're, mailing it back, etc. All of that has to be filled out. Some states require a witness. Usually, if they do, it just has to be somebody who's 18 or older and is a US citizen. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a resident, but in the states that require witnesses, they may ask for that witness's address. When they ask for your address or a witness's address, put every single thing in there. Don't omit a zip code. We've had cases where I've been working in the voter protection rooms during election season, and we've had ballots tossed because they didn't have a zip code, or they didn't put a state, but they did have a zip code. So these are not things we want to have to litigate as disabled people. And also, you should know that you have the right to assistance with respect to marking your ballot, having more accessible options. If you go vote in person, every polling location is required to have at least one voting booth that is considered ADA compliant and accessible. They also are supposed to have tools for low vision or blind voters, as well as deaf or hard of hearing voters. And those things cannot be not there. Those are not optional. Those are all things that are required by federal law. I don't know, Priya, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to keep track of the time. So how are we doing on time? Because
Well, if we want to have a little hangout, because the interpreters are only here till 6. So if we want to have, a little.
then we'll just do like a couple things and
then we'll do a thing about voting.
Yeah, we're going to do a separate event that's just about voting. And I have pages just about what to do with this respect to potential challenges to mail-in ballots, etc.
Aaron and I are also going to work on a zine out of
the zine.
Vicky Kat. She wrote this really dense document on voting, and I was like, oh, we should turn this into a zine because I think that's we need to spread the word about voting any way we can, and then we'll have it on our website and stuff too. So
yeah, we can wait because those resources are on the websites that we shared, and the hotlines are there, but definitely put those hotlines in your phones and we will get you the more dense documents.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you, Kat. And yeah, voting is really important. We're going to work on a zine after. I was just like, after this event, I am going to work on clay and work on the zine. So that's that. Those are my goals after today. So next up is I don't know. Um, I don't know, Mason, I saw you came in. I'm not sure what y'all are calling your dance group now, but it was called Dances with Wolf, and it's Oji Danley and Mason Diaz, and they do interable dancing. And we're gonna play the video first, Ricky, and then Mason will talk about what they do. But what is the project called, Mason?
We are, this is produced under Dances with Wheels as the production, and the piece itself is part of a trio of pieces. This one is called Apart, and it is a dance film of just myself and OG Danley performing to music by Ethel Kane. The music is called Sun Bleached Flies, and it is in a film medium created by Tashana Henry, who unfortunately passed the same year that she did all the film production and editing for us. So this is also dedicated to her as well. It's Tashana Henry. Did amazing work. She's an amazing young collaborator here in Atlanta. And the piece itself is something I'll discuss a little bit afterwards, but it was from, gosh, now a couple of years ago. I can't believe it. So you'll see me with pink hair. So be on the lookout. That'll be me. And then I'd love to field some questions about it.
And is OG here? Is she on the chat, or is it just you? Okay.
For now, it is just myself due to
I didn't see
some scheduling.
Yeah,
All right, no
I
problem. Sorry to interrupt.
didn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put the video on.
Steve's
Okay, cool.
commenting in the chat that he may need to leave, so maybe he could go next. Is that okay?
Yes.
Hear what you said. I'm sorry. Oh, Steve, do you need to leave? Is that what's going
Yes,
on?
I think I was supposed to go on at 5. I don't know.
He
If
could go
schedule
next.
is
Yeah,
free.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Things,
Sorry
you
about
know.
that.
No worries.
So let's just switch it up a little. Let's put Steve on first. Steve runs something called oh, I don't know what this is being shared on the screen. What is this? I don't know. But anyway, Steve runs a thing called Squeaky Wheel. So Mason, I'm so sorry. We're just gonna let Steve go first, and then
No worries. I can go fast. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Verdilli. I am a white man with glasses and short brown hair. I'm a wheelchair user. And I'm going to talk very briefly about sort of alternative ways to protest and to do activism. I run the Squeaky Wheel, which is a nonprofit organization focused on disability and humor. If you're familiar with like The Onion or Reductress or The Hard Times, we run a disability-focused satire page that you can find on Instagram. So in a very similar vein to them, we have a disability sketch comedy television show that airs in Canada, and we go all around the US to different colleges talking to disabled student organizations about using humor to combat ableism. This has been a great event so far. Thank you, Priya and Kat and everyone else who put this together. I think a really, really important focus for me is that activism looks like a lifestyle. Like it's not any individual thing that you're doing, it's the way that you do everything. I always encourage people to try and connect their occupation and their community and their organization and the way they speak to people and every element of what they do to their causes and to things that they believe in. And for me, that has a lot to do with humor because my background is kind of in comedy and in entertainment. Humor is such a powerful tool. I strongly, strongly recommend people to think about the role that humor plays in their life. And that can be as simple as using little jokes to diffuse tension when you're in a situation with someone that maybe is being a little ableist or doesn't understand your disability. It's a great way to signal to strangers like, hi, I'm a friend. I want to be your friend. I know I'm disabled. I know you know I'm disabled. I know we all know this is awkward and weird and we're going to figure this out together. Humor is just really powerful in those contexts. And then in more formal settings, like with our publication, humor is a great way to point out like that there's all this shit going on in the world that's just ridiculous and doesn't make sense. It isn't fair, it isn't just, and I think that humor is a way to get your anger and your frustration out, but in a way that makes the people you're talking to feel safe and feel welcome. So we've posted stories on our in our publication about politics and government and drugs and sex and healthcare and meditating, everything you can think of. And a lot of times these are really tough topics to talk about. It's really hard to say that like the people in power with all the money and guns and all of that are trying to do stuff that hurts our community. But we do need to speak out against it, as scary as it may be. I saw earlier in the event, people were talking about the 26 protesters that got arrested. A lot of them are wheelchair users. It was just a few days ago, and like that literal physical sense of speaking out, of protesting in person, is amazing. But for those of us that either can't do that or sort of want to just add to that, I think social media is probably the most powerful media tool that we have right now. So I strongly recommend people to think about what you're posting on your page and making sure that you are sort of expressing your values and your beliefs and fighting within just your own personal accounts. The last thing I want to talk about is mutual aid. I think mutual aid is another thing that people don't think of and often don't connect it to humor, but humor is a really great way to make the people around you feel safe and comfortable. And that does not mean you don't need to give them food and home and shelter and money and all of those things that we need to live. But that it's important to make sure that people feel welcome and that people feel included. I've been on like 100 Zoom calls in the last few months that are sort of similar to this one, and a lot of times they can be tense, they can be scary, they can be uncomfortable, because it is really serious stuff that we're talking about. So again, think about the role that humor plays in how you speak and how you live your life. I don't want to plug our organization too much, but I do recommend checking this out. I'm not gonna do my full spiel because I know we're tight on time, but yeah, thank you for having me. Feel free to check out the squeakywheel.org or the squeaky wheel on Instagram. If you ever have any disability and comedy or disability related, humor related projects, I'm always around. You know where to find me. And yeah, thank you, Priya and Kat.
Thank you, Steve. So yeah, I put the website and the Instagram in the chat. So look them up. They're really funny. I do see your Instagram and I'm like, oh, that's funny. I always like it. And Sharon has asked people to share their social medias in the chat so she can follow y'all. And so now we'll just move on to Apart, which is the dance that OG and Mason have done, interabled dancing. So Ricky, if you could play that, that would be great.
on the windowsill, waiting for the day they escape. They talk all about their money and how their babies are always changing while they're breathing in the poison of the pain. What I wouldn't give to be in church this Sunday, listening to the choir so heartfelt, all singing, God loves you, but not enough to save you. So baby girl, good luck taking care of yourself. So I said fine, 'cause that's how my daddy raised me. If they strike once and you just hit them twice as hard. But in the end, if I bend under the weight that they gave me, then this heart would break and fall as twice as far. broken. It's all I know, and it's all I want now.
Awesome. Thank you, Mason. So do you want to come to the front? Oh, here, I'll bring you to the front. Bring you to the front. And talk about this. And Vanessa, who's also a disabled dancer, said wow, this is beautiful. The choreography, the editing, the videography, the music, so breathtaking. And so the bunch of people are saying this was beautiful and wonderful. So please, Mason, I don't know if anyone has questions, but everyone thinks it's beautiful so far. So that's what's so far.
Well, I'll start by saying that the piece in general, in and of itself, is about human connections that persist across time when we have meaningful encounters with people that we connect with. I truly believe that we leave impacts on everybody we meet, and the more significant and the more depth there are to those moments we spend with people, the more that kind of becomes a part of their own tapestry that they take forward into their life. Whether there is separation by, thousands of miles or decades, those things don't go away. They become a part of a personal history, which then in turn also weaves itself into a tapestry that comes with legacy, with everybody you impact from that time on. And to me, that's what this was about. So hence, kind of for me, the title Apart is both apart as in distance, but also, like the way it was capitalized, a part, because you do leave, I think, parts of yourself, or at least influence, in every interaction you have with the world at large. So that's kind of what that exploration was. That was why there was a focus, in my opinion, because sometimes things just develop organically. I don't go into everything with a plan. I usually have a belief in my heart, and I let it kind of develop, and I think it happened wonderfully. But there was a big focus on, yes, when we were together and dancing, but then there was a lot of moments that you would see vignettes when we're apart, and there is no dancing. We're suddenly just living, but we're living in completely separate realities. But then we kind of intercut with these moments of solo dancing and then partner dancing to show that those things haven't gone away. They've just transformed us. So now we navigate the world in a new way, touched by those experiences. That's a long-winded way to describe kind of what it is and what it meant to me to create it. But I'm happy to answer any questions that people have specifically about either physically integrated dance as kind of a technique for developing choreography, or the piece itself. If anybody would like to ask any questions, I'm definitely, ears are open.
Does anyone have any questions?
My eyes are open too, if you want to throw them in the chat.
The eyes, the ears
I
are all.
have a question, actually. I don't know if anybody's raised their hands yet, but I have a question for you, Mason.
Absolutely.
And it's actually about another dancer that I saw 25 years ago. And I'm wondering if you know anything about this person, because I've never seen anything like this. It's a person who was paraplegic. I don't know exactly what his disability was, but instead of a wheelchair, he gets around on a skateboard. And he had specialized crutches, and he couldn't stand without the crutches, but he got around on a skateboard, and he had a whole dance routine, and he would travel to conferences. I saw him at a disability rights conference in Washington, D.C., like, you know, in the 90s. And he would do this dance routine where the whole time it looked like he was falling off the skateboard. And I was just wondering if you've ever seen him or anything like that. Somebody utilizing like alternate means of, you know, you're supposed to use a wheelchair if your legs don't work, right? And this kid was like, no. And I would see him skating in the street, and it was wild. And then I saw that he was actually a dancer. So yeah, that's my question, if you've ever seen anything like that.
The particular performer, no, but what I can almost guarantee, because especially in that time period, like I said, 25 years ago, disability in the arts was even more radical than we see it today. And I guarantee his influence likely impacted who I have learned from in regards to the field of physically integrated dance. So I have actually seen several artists in various states where they utilize like non-conventional mobility devices or just tools in performance. So I've seen, I wish I could remember her name, when we, myself and OG actually both as a part of Full Radius Dance, we were doing a disability arts conference in Spain called Una Mirada Diferente, a different look. And one of the key artists was a singer who was a above the knee amputee and had a spike prosthetic. It was very brutalist, black spike that came down to a super sharp point, and it was part of this costuming aesthetic. But I've seen many things like that. One of my fellow performers and actors with Full Radius Dance, also Eric Grays, specialized kind of in non-conventional mobility while combining his prosthetic legs along with abandoning those for surfaces with wheels, or doing like one or the other, leaving it for one prosthetic leg on while the other was completely supported just on one arm. So I've seen it quite a bit in regards to who I've choreographed for has been, you know, any type of modality. And that was a big part of why in discussing how we were going to approach this with OG, it wasn't just, you know, oh, you often use a wheelchair, so we're just going to focus on the wheelchair. She really felt passionate about, I want all my modalities to really shine through. I want to, you know, dance with my canes. I want to dance, you know, without a mobility device, because I live in a lot of different spaces and my disability keeps me in a lot of different modalities. So I want to highlight those. So I've seen a lot, and I know there's so much more out there to explore. And that's just part of why I think it's so important to continue exploring and pushing for disability in the arts, because there's always going to be people pushing boundaries to do something insane. And if 25 years ago it was a skateboard, it could be anything today. And I think that's a big, beautiful part of it. What other?
Thanks for sharing that. It was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Vanessa, I wonder if it's lazy legs, the person you're talking about, Ricky. I think that's what Vanessa. But go ahead. I don't know. I don't see any questions. Everyone just loves what you did, Mason, and they're just like, yes, this was beautiful. Thank you. They're thanking you and for putting out so much passion and beauty out there.
I have a question for you, Mason. My name is Sharon, and Matthew and I first realized that when we were doing our piece, we didn't provide the descriptions. So I am a 51-year-old woman with very short, light hair and glasses. I'm in a black puffer coat. And Mason, I wanted to ask you, because our daughter is a dancer and she's in college right now, and she absolutely has loved her experiences working in inclusive classrooms in her, you know, when she was in elementary, middle school, and in high school. And so I was wondering just how you got into this area of dance, and that way I can provide her with more resources, because I think it might be something, you know, when she gets later, a little later on, that she might be interested in as well.
Honestly, it was like so many amazing things, very serendipitous. I graduated from university in 2016, and one of my professors had previously auditioned for a company called Full Radius Dance there in Atlanta. And I graduated in a place just south of Charlotte, North Carolina, but it's actually in South Carolina. So it was kind of a nearby southeastern dance company that I was very interested in from hearing just kind of this referral of the work. I looked into the work. I thought it was really amazing, and it was still near family. So I just kind of shot in the dark while I was still a student. I auditioned. I took a long drive there with my best friend. We both auditioned, and I had a offer immediately in graduating college. And honestly, I had no previous experience with the arts and disability intersecting. It really was just, I just want to dance professionally, and this is the dance company doing amazing work. And then stepping into the space, of course, I was ushered into a lot of perspectives about the arts and advocacy, but also disability advocacy, learning a ton of things I never knew, finding out about my own ignorances that I had before, and that I was, you know, happily able to just like soak in all this amazing work, and then also develop this technique. Well, not develop the technique, but work within this technique of physically integrated dance. So I would say when you're looking to find resources, I would look at those performers that are currently working, and a lot of physically integrated dance companies, like I think somebody actually mentioned in the chat there, Vanessa did, Axis, but Full Radius Dance in Atlanta. Axis is on the West Coast, they're in California. But there are companies nationwide, Dancing Wheels, I believe, up in Ohio. But there are companies nationwide, and they do a great job of giving back and offering intensives that are, you know, very cost effective to make them as accessible as possible. A lot of online virtual courses that they offer as well, where you can kind of tune in. Because I do think a lot of the onus on disabled performers, or a lot of the onus is put on them to adapt a traditional classroom setting or an additional approach to dance technique and movement, adapt it onto their bodies when they want to learn from a, you know, more knowledgeable other. So I do think nobody does that better or with more cognizance than companies that work with people of all kinds of disabilities. So I think looking at those companies, looking into the resources they offer, especially remote, if you're you know, not able to travel at any given time, they're putting work out constantly. I wouldn't even avoid cold emailing and saying, hey, we have a lot of interest in the kind of work you do. Are there kind of accessible workshops and things that can be done remotely? Is any way we could maybe just like FaceTime into a session or a company class one day? And I find 99 times out of 100, they want so badly for more people to explore this with them. So that's what I would do. I would look into these kinds of performers. And I'm sure we could probably, Nessa and myself, we could probably even crowdsource a list of different physically integrated dance companies and dance educators across the country for sure. Does that kind
Yeah.
of help with your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, and Sharon Vanessa actually in the chat listed up, I think, more West Coast, which I think where y'all are, interabled dance companies there. So thanks, Mason. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And now what we will end this protest with the stop action animation that I collaborated with this person's Skeleton Key workshop. And this is the first video we're going to make a series, but it takes a long time to do stop action. So Ricky, if you want to play that, please do.
Hello, Mr. Cafeteria Man. I need a menu in Braille so I can order the food.
That's Mr. Cafeteria Man, sir. We are very busy and do not have the time to provide you with your special needs.
Mr. Cafeteria Man, eating is not a special need. When you use that word special, it makes people think that I am special, but I'm not. I need to eat just like everybody else.
I don't understand.
The Braille menu is an accommodation, so I can eat, like a chair is an accommodation so you can sit at your desk.
I see. I will make sure to make you a menu that you can read so you can eat too.
Thank you. The more you know about disability.
Yes, sirree.
Okay, so that was really fun. So, I guess what should we do now? We have protest signs and thank you, Vanessa. That was so fun to do. I did a Zine Fest last year, and this person, I don't know, he saw me at the Zine Fest, but he decided to write me through Instagram and was like, "Would you want to collaborate?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So it was so much fun to do that. So we're gonna do I have more scripts that I thought of, and we're gonna do. I did Matt Esslinger of Skeleton Key Workshop. So now we're just gonna have Q&A, or we can show protest signs, or what should we do? This is our time now, and we have till like 6. Then the interpreters have to go, but we can hang on, and then I want to give our crew a break too, because this was a long event. But what should we do? Who has signs? Do you want to show signs, or
We were talking, this is Laura talking. We were
Oh, yeah.
talking about maybe doing an opportunity for people to share their protest signs or whatever imagery they have that they would like, and to do a screenshot.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I failed at getting the signs, so sorry. But there we go. Oh, here, I'm gonna put y'all. Should I just put replace spotlight? Is that what? Oh no. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. I'm sorry.
And you might have to unblur your background to have your protest sign show up well. Sharon, I know yours was starting to blur.
Hey, Priya. Somebody was asking for a link to the video that was just shown. Is that the link to the partner site that you shared?
To the special needs, it is on his YouTube channel. If you look,
I can find it. I just wanted to
yeah,
ask real quick.
Yeah, the Skeleton Key Workshop is
Okay, I'll find it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead and show your signs. I'm sorry, I got distracted looking in the chat.
That Sharon's art is amazing, because the flyer that you designed, Sharon, like everybody I showed it to was like, oh my god,
true.
Did somebody make they were just, everybody was just overwhelmed, and it's such a good way. Like, and I was so proud. It's like, I can't take the credit, but we have this amazing artist, and so just gorgeous.
Yes, thanks. We got to thank everyone, because we didn't do this alone. We did it together. And I even talked to my non-disabled childhood friend, and she was talking about, what is this bootstrap society? I was like, well, yeah, I talk about that all the time. we all work together. No one does anything by themselves. So, in the chat, I got this question. They're asking, do I have any tips for zine distro? I don't know. There is this Brown Recluse zine distro, but they only carry people Black zine distro because I think they got a grant and they accepted my zine. And then I was like, oh, because they're like, we can't give you, like, if you're a Black zine maker, they're like, they get 100% of the money. And they were like telling me I couldn't get that because I wasn't a Black zine maker. But I was like, but I'm a disabled zine maker and I'm poor. So they just said, yeah, that's just part of our grant we got to do this. But then they were like, how about we give you 75% of it? And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm sorry. I understood. That was nice of them. But you could try Brown Zine Distro. I don't think they necessarily take only zines by Black zine makers, but they would, I don't know how they might. Oh, did I say what Brown Recluse distro? But I don't know of any other zine distros. I just take them to Asheville is a big zine culture, so there's a lot of bookstores and stuff that carry it here. So that's what I do, really. And yeah. So and yeah, there's Zine Fests. But if they don't live near Chattanooga, Robert's like, the Chattanooga Zine Fest is free. I was like, but if you don't live in Chattanooga. But a lot of people travel to that Zine Fest. It's free. And it's like they have a really amazing library. The entire fourth floor is dedicated to helping. You have to have a library card, and they have all kinds of laser printers and 3D printers and silk screening, just like a really great maker space. But they do the Zine Fest there, and it's like huge. It's really a wonderful place. So if you could travel to that would be a good place to take. It's a free Zine Fest, and it's just a big community and stuff. Yeah, they have a zine library. They take zines as well. So any other questions?
Any questions, but I do think it's pretty amazing how we all came together to do this. Because, like, Priya, I want to say it was like 6 months ago that you were like, hey, what if we did this kind of thing? And like, it's just taken like all these people, and everybody's like, I don't know. I feel like we talk about spoons, and I'm like, everybody's been putting spoons together or something. I don't know. It's just like the community element, and just every single person has contributed so much. Like, I'm just so happy and grateful.
Yeah, no, it was really great. Everybody came together, and it's really exciting when you see that happen. So yeah, it was really great, you guys. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for participating and coming and helping and
Like Zian has Zian?
Yes.
Zion or Zion. Yeah.
Zion.
Zion.
Yeah.
Zion.
Yeah.
Thank you
This is
for this
Susan. I'm Beth
amazing
Brown. I
presentation.
just wanted to tell you
Oh.
I'm looking forward to more of your videos
sorry.
because you guys have the best voicing. I didn't know that was you and
Oh yeah, that's me and my partner. Like we were.
I know you guys are
And then like the person,
kind of a grumpy man.
yeah, he is. We were laughing.
It was
so
a lot of fun, and you guys did a great job.
Thank you so
Just
much.
wanted to tell you, got a big kick out of that with your voices.
That's cool. It was fun to do it.
It was
Zion,
method acting.
On you, Priya. She's fangirling on you, like I said.
go ahead, Ziana, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Oh shit, now my battery's gonna die. So
Oh, no. Talk quick.
I just want to say, during the process of making this film, I realized that there's a lot of disability advocates and activists, but they're kind of they're different little sections or sectors and little cliques or whatever that is. but we all want to be together, and together we'll be stronger in what we're wanting to achieve. And please, if you follow me, I'm trying to, because I'm familiar with all the different, and not all of them, because it's there's a lot of us, but I'm hoping that our film will create a catalyst for to change the systemic ableism that is around the world. And in our film, we have Ghana, India, Taiwan, Chile, the UK, and all parts of the US, including DC, Boston, Detroit, Santa Fe, New Mexico, LA, Oakland. And I'm hoping that this film can bring us all together, because I do believe that we are the most beautiful people in the world. And my film proves it, I hope. And so I'm so happy to spend this time with y'all, and you inspire me so much. I just got out of the hospital yesterday. I had a epidural steroid injection in my neck, and I need to rest now. But thank you so much for your time.
And I'll totally reach out to you, because I made a movie during the pandemic too, and I felt like it was just really awesome just to show disabled people how we're people. Disabled people are people. So
Right. And so we're screening in Portland, Oregon on June 22nd at Hollywood Theater. And then after that, we might be in the Portland Film Festival. And then after that, we'll find out where it lands up.
okay, I'll keep track, and thank you so much. Thank you. Go
Thank you.
rest if you need to.
Yes,
but
I do have to go. Okay, take care, dears. Bye-bye.
bye. So we have like 2 minutes and before we need to let the interpreters go. So I don't know what.
I want to shout out the interpreters. You all did an amazing job.
Yes, thank
So
you.
rad,
Thank you.
as always.
Yes, thank you. And I guess I should thank the sponsors, New Disabled South, Sugar Hollow Solar, and Sugar Hollow Solar, and Chase Bliss, and
Maps.
Maps. And yeah, I was like, what is it called? Maps. So yeah, they donated to they sponsor the accessibility fund that we have. And if you want, if you like this event and you can donate money, please donate, because that helps us keep these events as accessible as possible. I don't know, so we can have a 15-minute hangout. I'm really tired, but we might have to do it without the interpreters, unless Disabled Activism SF would volunteer their interpreting skills for the little hangout at the end. Let me know.
And we will be doing this again. We're planning to do an event in July for Disability Pride Month. So
yeah,
we will hopefully get to see you all there and do more things for our community.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I don't know. I thought you told me you were an interpreter. Never mind. No, that's fine. Okay. Well then, someone wrote, it would be nice to link up for No King's Day in June. Yeah, that would be great. But I'm just, it won't be as a planned event, but I just think we should just get together in June on that date, and we'll invite people, and they'll be.
I have a question on the when is the next planning meeting for the July bed-in?
I don't know yet, but we're on that Signal group, so I'll write to that, and we can.
Okay. Well, do you want me to put the link for the Signal group, or I mean,
I don't. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Is that?
I'll see if I can. I should be able to, but I'm just trying to do at least part of my job here. Sorry, I had device issues, but I wanted to promote people joining if you want them to join the planning committee or not, that's the best way to do it, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. One moment.
Give a special thank you to Jay and Ricky for the chat and tech stuff, because that is not a small thing, and we know how much you put into it. Thank you.
Yes,
Y'all are
definitely.
great.
All right, I'm gonna go parent now. My poor
Okay.
son's just waiting for me to play with him.
This was a pretty impressive 3 hours. I mean, to keep my attention for 3 hours, tricky.
It's true.
My
Awesome
attention
work,
3
everybody.
minutes is tricky.
All
All right.
right.
You're on
Okay,
your own,
everyone.
Sophia.
Thanks so much, everyone. And I don't know. I'm always that type of person that can't hang up the phone first. So,
No, you.
that's the way I am. So, yeah, everyone, thanks so much. It was so great to see everyone, and this was just really awesome. And I'm so excited. It came out so good. Maybe I'll stop streaming it live now.
If anybody wants the Signal link, just I'll put my contact information. So I can give it to you privately.